The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101. We're so happy you joined us this week. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that will help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's your host, Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101. This is the show with an optimistic perspective on a sober subject. And I'm your host, Susan Bartelstone. And I thank you so much for spending some time with me today. You know, it is my great privilege and mission, both on this show and in life, to help you keep yourself safe. And I am so glad to be back from my summer hiatus. And I want to thank all of you who emailed to ask when the show was coming back. It is so glad to, I'm so thrilled to be back here and to have all of your emails coming to me. Now, I'm starting my new season with a blockbuster show. We're going to answer the question, what happens to a sexual assault survivor after the assault if she or he goes to the hospital emergency room for treatment? And we're going to be talking about an innovative program based in New York City, where I am from, and formed under the auspices of the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assault, this wonderful organization that I have been a volunteer with for many, many years. And this is a program that should be replicated all over the country. It's called the SAFE Forensic, and that SAFE stands for Sexual Assault Forensic Examiners, the SAFE Preceptor Training Program, and it trains and certifies forensic nurses and doctors who are the first people to see a sexual assault survivor in that emergency room, how to respond to a sexual assault survivor compassionately and appropriately. And I recently had the privilege of being part of what is called the improvisational training troupe, which is part of this training process. And I'm going to be telling you all about my experiences as one of 17, quote, actors taking a part in this training program and working with these SAFE trainees. And it was such a great experience. And I think that one of my fellow actors is also going to be calling in to talk about her experiences. And later on in the show, we're going to be going over step by step what a rape kit is and exactly what to expect if you ever have to go to the hospital emergency room as a sexual assault survivor. And this topic is so important that you might want to store it on your website or your iPod or whatever device you use, just in case the need arises for this kind of information in the future, either for you or for someone that you know. And speaking of that, if you know someone who should be listening to today's show who might not be, please send out a text message about us, send an IM, give out a tweet if you're on Twitter, anything, so that they can join us too. Before I bring on today's guest, I just got a few items that I want to mention. You know, September is Campus Safety Awareness Month. Of course, every month should be, but September is the one that's been designated. So if there are any students or parents of students or campus administrators listening to me today, here are a few suggestions for programming that you might want to bring to the campus. First of all, you've got to get a hold of the people from Men Can Stop Rape. They do really important programs for the men on the campus. They do high school and college programs, and you can find them at mencanstoprape.org. And I've done 2 shows with them, which you can listen to and for more information about them. And those shows are in my archives on my crimeprevention101.com website. And you also want to have the folks from the Bringing in the Bystander program, which originated at the University of New Hampshire, and they will come to your campus, and they teach people how to intervene safely in cases where a sexual assault might be occurring or where there just may be any kind of risk to students. And they also train representatives on the campus to give their own workshops so that you'll be able to do it on your own campus after that. And you can find information about them. It's unh.edu/Prevention Innovation. And I did a show with them also. That's on my website. Okay, so now to introduce my topic for today, let me tell you a true story that took place in San Diego in 1990. But this travesty could have occurred anywhere in the country. A young woman in that area was raped, and for 9 hours after the rape, she was transported from hospital to hospital by law enforcement looking for a medical facility that could treat a sexual assault survivor. When a facility was finally found, she spent even more time sitting in the waiting room just waiting to be seen. And it turned out that there was no rape kit at this facility, so that no evidence could be collected in this case in case the victim wanted to press charges against her assailant. And no one was there for the victim's emotional support. So she sat there alone and frightened and traumatized all over again. Now, a whole lot has been done since 1990. And we're going to talk about some of the changes that have been made right now. So coming up, I've got 3 guests with me here today. First of all, I've got Dr. I know I'm going to mess up your name. Dr. Sultan Torshkov. Did I get that right?
Right.
Oh, good. And he is the director of the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assault, their Center for Health and Forensic Services. And this is the a part that oversees the SAFE training program. We've got Amy Adelstein, who is a social worker and rape crisis coordinator at Safe Horizon in Staten Island. And she is the director of the improvisational training troupe. And this is where I met Amy. And we are expecting to have Karen Carroll with us, who is a forensic nurse, and she's an associate director at the Bronx Sexual Assault Response Team, and she's also a trainer in the SAFE program. Amy, Sultan, Karen, if you're there, welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Well, thanks for having us.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Great to be here.
All right. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Karen with us? Karen here yet? No. Oh, good. All right, Sultan, let's start with you. What happens when a sexual assault survivor in New York City seeks treatment and reports to a hospital emergency room?
Well, in New York City, we have about 51 hospitals, and out of this 51 hospitals, 18 facilities are currently designated by New York State Department of Health as a safe centers of excellence. That accreditation is given to facilities that have 24-hour available services for specialized services for sexual assault patients, and 24 hours available sexual assault forensic examiners, as well as any other support needed. When anyone reporting sexual assault calls 911 in New York City, it's been since June 2008, EMS services have been advised to transport those patients to those 18 facilities instead of taking them to the nearest emergency department.
Okay.
If someone works in a hospital with one of the 18 facilities of this that has a safe center, they will receive the best care possible. If someone ends up being in a facility that doesn't have currently Safe Center, they will receive the care that is available at such facility.
Which
now,
ideally we want them to have someone who's trained not only to treat the person right, but to record the injuries and to collect the evidence. That's ideally what we want.
Yeah, the Safe Centers are the best suited to do that because they have those specially trained clinicians who are called SAFE, Sexual Assault Forensic Examiners, that go through the training with the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assaults Training Institute. And the Alliance's training program for those clinicians, which is 40-hour and accredited by the New York State Department of Health. In fact, was the first one in New York State that got that accreditation.
That's right.
We train about 100 clinicians every year, and not just from the Safe Centers, from the hospitals that are not officially designated. To provide those services in a best possible way. Now, so what exactly happens when someone arrives to the emergency department with the Safe Center? That patient will, within 60 minutes, the patient will be seen by the Sexual Assault Forensic Examiner, and within 30 minutes they will be attended by the specially trained victim advocate. The Amy will be probably better suited to talk about that. Those two people are usually who first encounter the patient and work with them through the crisis. Now, the role of the Safe Examiner is to provide any necessary care, as well as collect evidence on survivor of the sexual assault.
And that's if the survivor wishes to collect it.
Absolutely. There is, no matter which way the patient arrives with a 911 or walk-in, in New York State by law, we don't report.
Good. Right. Exactly. This is
anywhere. So, it's going to be private and confidential.
Let me hold you here. Coming up, we're going to be talking more about the SAFE program, and we're going to speak to one of my fellow actors. And, hey, don't forget, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and there's plenty of show left. So please start tweeting about us.
Okay.
News, opinion, can you hear me? Your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information.
The violent crime rate has begun to rise again. So what's more important than feeling at ease and secure in your daily life? With an optimistic perspective on a sober subject, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone brings you the information, tips, resources, and inspiring success stories that'll reduce your fear and restore your confidence. So stay tuned and stay safe with Crime Prevention 101 and Susan Bartelstone every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, here on Voice America. It'd be a crime not to listen.
Hawaii is viewed by many as one of the most beautiful places in the world to visit. The island paradise ranks second in a recent Best Places to Live poll. 7 million annual visitors can't be wrong. Now, bring a little aloha to your life each week by tuning in to From Hawaii with Love, featuring Joy Curdy and Jenny Fujita. You'll get a new perspective of life in the islands from those who live there and get a behind-the-scenes look at customs and traditions. Tune in every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Variety Channel. Mahalo. Streaming live. The leader in Internet Talk Radio. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. Susan would like to remind you that no absolutes exist in a crime scenario, and no advice can possibly address every variable. Each situation should be evaluated individually and responded to in a way you instinctively judge best. It's Susan's aim on this show to provide you with the information and options that will help you make that instinctive assessment quickly and safely. And if you're already a survivor of the kind of crime we're talking about on the show today, or any other crime for that matter, please remember that there are no right or wrong responses in a criminal encounter, and nothing that happened to you was your fault. Even if you think you used bad judgment in a situation and left yourself vulnerable, that's never an excuse for a crime or for violence. So please, call yourself a survivor, not a victim, and understand that with time, distance, and the proper professional help, you can put what happened into perspective and get on with your life. If you'd like to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, send your comments to solutions@fightsafe.com, and Susan may address some of them on future shows. That email address again, solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101.
Hi, welcome back. Susan Bartelstone here. And I've been speaking with Dr. Sultan Torshkov and Amy Edelstein from the SAFE Preceptorship Training Program. And you can find more about the SAFE program at svfreenyc.org. That's S like sugar, V like Victor, free, NYC.org, which is the website for the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assault. And be sure to take a look at their wonderful PSA spots that are running on local TV stations here in New York at besafenyc.org. And some of the actors were my fellow actors in the improvisational training troupe. And before we're going to start talking about that in just one second, but first I have a very important thing to tell you about. I can't wait to tell you about My Mobile Witness. Now, this is a free service that transforms your camera cell phone into a personal safety device. For example, if you're in a stalking situation, if you have an order of protection against someone, if you witness a crime happening, or if you just find yourself in any kind of situation that might be potentially dangerous, you're going to want to check out My Mobile Witness. And special offers are available for colleges. So go to mymobilewitness.com for more information about this great service that they have there. All right, Amy, let's talk a little bit with you now. Let's talk about the improvisational acting troupe and how this fits into the SAFE Forensic Examiners program.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on tonight. So the improvisational training troupe is basically, we did training with 17 wonderful actors, about half of which are also rape crisis advocates in the hospital, which Sultan mentioned earlier. And what we did was basically spent time training these actors on kind of sexual assault 101, basic information. We went over the emotional, physical, and cognitive reactions that a rape survivor might experience after this kind of trauma, as well as having them understand the medical options, what happens in the forensic exam, the basics of the criminal justice process, and factors that affect the survivor's responses to sexual assault.
It was a very comprehensive training, and it was quite an interesting group of people, right? We have all ages, right? Male and females. We have all a very diverse group, and talk a little bit about some of the roles, as we were each assigned a role, a character, right?
Sure.
We had to develop.
What we did and how these actors fit into this preceptorship program is they're used to play the rape victims in the hospital so that the newly trained SAFE examiners can get a chance to see what it's like to work with an actor before they're actually going to, do this forensic exam on a real victim. So it's really their chance to practice and challenge themselves and get feedback before encountering the real thing. So we wanted to give them really challenging cases. So some of the different roles that the actors were assigned to play, we had a sex worker, we had someone who had been sexually assaulted by her father. We had someone who was a substance abuser, mentally disabled young woman, and all of these situations were with the role, the character having just been sexually assaulted and coming to the hospital for care.
And it was such an amazing diversity of roles. Now, the character I had to play was a lesbian woman who was in a relationship and had been sexually assaulted by her partner and had an object shoved up her. That was the character. Talk about some of the other different characters, as they were fascinating. And these are all based on true-to-life
cases, yeah.
Clients that these examiners will see. Talk about...
well, the sex worker, she was a young woman who, was a prostitute, but was, sexually assaulted, and, was a low-income person, also had some other issues of homelessness and substance abuse. We had another one who was a college-age student who was believed that she was slipped something into her drink at a bar, and so. Now,
I think that was Ebony's character. Is that correct?
Ebony, I think was the foster care.
Okay, because we have Ebony on the phone. So, Amy, we're going to talk with Ebony. Let's see if we can get Ebony connected.
Hello.
Hi, Ebony.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hi, and Amy and Sultan are here with me.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Sultan. How are you guys?
Ebony.
And we were just talking about the different characters that our little acting troupe put on, and talk about your character a little bit. Explain who you were.
Well, the character that I portrayed, I was a 14-year-old girl being raised in a foster care program. I was in a group home because my mother couldn't handle me anymore. I was somewhat of a hard-to-manage child, and so I was being raised currently in a foster care group. And on my way to my friend's house, I met a young man on the train who I took a liking to and invited me to a party. Unfortunately, at that party, there were illegal substances that I took part in. And later on, I was involved in a sexual assault with this young man. And some of the issues that I had at hand was I was very concerned. Being in the emergency room, I was concerned that, my mom was going to find out, or the counselor at the group home was going to find out, and I was going to get in a lot of trouble. Of course, being at that age, 14 years old, all of these issues are going through my head. And so those were some of the issues that I brought at hand for the SAFE examiner.
And this was an amazing to watch, actually, because after we finished our role, and we were in an exam room, the way a sexual assault survivor would be. We were examined exactly the way it would have been done, and we were supposed to give them a hard time. And Ebony, your performance was so convincing that I think one of the trainees was ready to quit the program.
Well, thank you so much. Like you said, I'm an advocate. I work in emergency rooms as a volunteer with the Savvy organization, so I'm very familiar with a lot of these types of cases, and I have had firsthand experience with a lot of sexual assault victims unfortunately. And so, me being able to bring that character to life was a little easier in that aspect because of my volunteer experience. But yeah, as a 14-year-old character, my emotions were changing. At one point I was very upset and angry, and I didn't want to have anything to do with this examiner. I didn't want to be there. And then from, at that point, going from being very sad and confused and not knowing what to do, my emotions were just everywhere portraying this character. And so I was able to bring it almost close to real to life. And like you said, we were working in a facility that was very close to being what it's like to being in an emergency room. We were in gowns, and we had the whole atmosphere around us, and so it was very, very lifelike.
Yeah, it was realistic, and I was surprised myself that I started crying in the middle of my portrayal, which isn't something I do that easily, and we were told to give those examiners a hard time because we wanted them to face everything that they could, so they would be thoroughly trained when they actually had to do the real thing.
Yeah,
what did you feel like when you were acting? I felt amazing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. It was a great way for them to prepare, great training. And like you, I was very surprised. I started crying and really got into the character. And I hope that I was able to help with the program, because I think it's a fantastic program, and I was honored to be a part of it. So.
Same here. Sultan, did you...
Yeah, I just wanted to actually thank you, Susan and Ebony. Without you, we won't have this program. When we first met, Amy and me, to sit down and sketch and think, okay, so what we're doing, why we're doing this program, and for us, the most important part was to give the safe examiners an experience of a real-life experience that would allow them to go back to the facility, and when they see the actual real-life patient, they could perform the best possible, perform the work they do as good as possible, as well as possible. And we in the medical care, we have the concept of the patient-centeredness. And the patient-centered approach is that approach when we provide the care, we center that care around the wishes and wills of that patient. So far, before this program, the way the preceptorship worked in our trainings was that after they complete the didactic course, the 40-hour course, they had to go back to the facilities and train on a real-life patients. So that was the only opportunity they had. Now with this program that allows them to spare those real-life patients and train on convincing cases like that you provide them as an actress.
So, that was really so important. And we gave them such a variety, and there were several men, because they're going to be facing male survivors and victims, and we had a transsexual. I mean, it was an amazing training program. Well, you know what? You're listening to Crime Prevention 101, and coming up next, we're going to be talking about just what you can expect when you get to the hospital. So, for more information, the SAFE program, go to SV3NYC.org.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it. That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information. It's sex education like you've never heard before. Want to improve your love life? You know, that love life. Join sexual wellness expert and certified erotic educator Jaya for Sex with Jaya. She'll bring you cutting-edge techniques to expand your erotic repertoire. Jaya will offer advice and speak with guests who will shed light on everything to do with sex. You can even listen together with that special someone. Sex with Jaya is broadcast live every Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel.
The violent crime rate has begun to rise again. So what's more important than feeling at ease and secure in your daily life? With an optimistic perspective on a sober subject, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone brings you the information, tips, resources, and inspiring success stories that'll reduce your fear and restore your confidence. So stay tuned and stay safe with Crime Prevention 101 and Susan Bartelstone every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, here on Voice America. It'd be a crime not to listen.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. Susan would like to remind you that no absolutes exist in a crime scenario, and no advice can possibly address every variable. Each situation should be evaluated individually and responded to in a way you instinctively judge best. It's Susan's aim on this show to provide you with the information and options that will help you make that instinctive assessment quickly and safely. And if you're already a survivor of the kind of crime we're talking about on the show today, or any other crime for that matter, please remember that there are no right or wrong responses in a criminal encounter, and nothing that happened to you was your fault. Even if you think you used bad judgment in a situation and left yourself vulnerable, that's never an excuse for a crime or for violence. So please, call yourself a survivor, not a victim, and understand that with time, distance, and the proper professional help, you can put what happened into perspective and get on with your life. If you'd like to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, send your comments to solutions@fightsafe.com, and Susan may address some of them on future shows. That email address again, solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101.
We're back. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking about what happens when you go to the hospital emergency room after a sexual assault. All right, so Amy, let's pick up from where we left off here. Back in 1990, that woman was driven around for 9 hours. When she finally found a facility that would treat her, there wasn't any rape kit there, and she sat alone by herself, waiting for someone to figure out what to do with her. That's not what's going to happen pretty much today, right?
No, thank God that is not what is going to happen today. So when a sexual assault survivor presents at the hospital emergency room, they should be taken right away. They won't need to wait in the waiting room. They should be taken right into their own private room. And in many hospitals, we have rape crisis advocates, and they're usually from local rape crisis programs. And it's a volunteer, like Ebony does as well. And it's a volunteer from the community who's trained to be that person to come to the hospital to be with a sexual assault survivor throughout the entire process in the emergency room. And they really are there to tell them kind of what their options are, be there to kind of help them through and support them, be with a family or friends that they have, and also let them know what their options are and make sure that they are treated the way they should be treated.
All right, so no one's going to be sitting there by themselves. And what are the first things what are the first things that the emergency personnel are going to do? And it was amazing to me because when we were going through the exam as actors, and all I could think of was, oh my God, if I really came in traumatized, this would be just hideous. So that's one of the reasons for this show. So you'll have this to save, and you can go over it, and you'll know what to expect. So let's talk me through it. Tell the audience exactly what's going to go on when they get to that hospital.
So hopefully what will happen is the victim will be able to understand what their options are for the medical exam. And so what that consists of is the forensic exam. So the first thing they want to do is the safe examiner will just make sure that they are okay, take care of any injuries that they might have internally or externally. And then there is something called the rape kit or the evidence collection kit. And this is basically a kit where they use to do different swabbings and collect DNA from that victim's body, because that's where the evidence is. Most hospitals, the protocol is usually that they will be able to do this kit up until about 96 hours after the sexual assault has occurred.
And that's a very important point, because not everyone goes to the emergency room right away.
Right. So it's important
you have up to 96 hours.
Right. And sometimes they'll do it a little bit longer, but the sooner that you get this treatment, of course, and medical attention and collect the evidence, the better. So some of the steps in the case...
Let's just back up quickly. The reason that you would collect the evidence is in case you do want to report the assault to the police or to proceed in a legal manner against the person that assaulted you. Correct?
Mm-hmm. And the thing that's really great about the kit is that because after a trauma, sometimes, you're not sure if you want to call the police, you're not sure if you want to, kind of go through this, and so what's really helpful is we encourage that, if you are at the hospital, that you do complete the evidence collection process, because what they can do is collect that evidence and seal it up in the rape kit and keep it at the hospital. So if you're not sure if you want to call the police at that point, you might have some time to think about it, and then maybe, decide in a week or two or even a month down the line that, this is something that I want to go forward with. And the hospital by law has to keep the rape kit for 30 days. Most of the time they keep it a lot longer than that.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah,
and
it's really
one
helpful.
one of the important things, and we're talking about, this is an emotional trauma as well as physical, and one of the first things that a survivor might want to do is take a shower, brush her teeth. Well, if you do that, you may be removing some of the forensic evidence.
Yes.
So, as hard as that can be, you when you're in shock, you may not be thinking clearly, okay, well, I don't do this because I want to prosecute. But if you can kind of try and keep this thought, just in case you do decide, the more evidence that you have, the DNA or whatever it may be, the more likely, the skin fragments, all these different things that might be onto your nails or in your person somewhere. If you can try not to shower or anything till you are seen, until the evidence is collected, you will have a stronger case if you decide to go ahead with it.
But even if you do take a shower, and so many of the cases that we see in the hospital, they have waited a day or two. They're not sure what they want to do. They're in shock. They don't know what their options are. It's absolutely fine, and you should still absolutely go and do the rape kit, even if you have showered, or even if it's been, a couple of days after. It's still, oftentimes the body does still have evidence on it after that time period.
And one of the things they also said was to keep the clothes that you were wearing.
Mm-hmm. It's always good, even if you aren't necessarily at the hospital, you can, evidence preserves in a paper bag. So if you have any kind of evidence or clothing or anything that you had on during the sexual assault, it's really important to save it in a paper bag. You never want to put anything in plastic, because plastic breeds bacteria. So you want to keep it kind of dry in a brown paper bag.
And that's to preserve its integrity as much as possible. And one of the things that surprised me, they're looking for hairs. They kind of will comb you and see if there's any hairs or skin. They swab you in any orifice that might have been affected, right, by the assault.
Mm-hmm.
They ask you if you take pictures, or they'll draw the injuries.
Yeah.
What else can you think of that I kind of forgot? Because it was traumatic for me as an actor.
They want to make sure that they swab any injuries, or if there are bite marks or bruises, that they take pictures of the bruises. They do an oral swab, which they can collect any evidence in the mouth. They also, they can do scraping under the fingernails if there might be skin particles or some DNA from the perpetrator under the skin. They do sometimes comb out, your hair to see if there are any stray hairs that might have gotten in there. They also do swabbing of, the genital region, whatever has come in contact during the assault. And they will do, a pelvic exam if that's something that occurred during the sexual assault.
And they also can give you referrals if you, like my character couldn't go home because her partner was the person that assaulted her.
Yeah.
And they offered to have a social worker come and talk to me. What are some of the things that they will refer you to?
Make sure that the person has a safe place to go home to, and if there are other presenting issues that might be of concern to that person, they want to make sure that they address them before they discharge them from the hospital. So they might often, especially referrals to rape crisis programs for counseling, for any advocacy reasons after leaving the hospital. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of the forensic exam are the preventative medications that are available, which some people still don't know about.
Right, they offered HIV to us, STD medication, I think. What else was it?
And the morning after pill is also an option.
And the morning after pill. Yeah. So, and they explain exactly what these are and tell you what it is.
And everyone has the option, to do any or refuse any part of this whole process. So if there's something that they're not comfortable with, they absolutely don't have to do it, any part of the rape kit. And in terms of the prevention medication, they want to make sure that, if you might have been exposed to some kind of STD, that they treat you for that, and it's just treated usually with antibiotics. And then HIV prevention medication is a longer-term kind of dose of medication. It's a 30-day remedy of medication that they would give you if you think that you might have been exposed, and that's only up until 36 hours after the assault that you would be eligible for that.
Yeah. All right, Amy, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit, just very briefly, about some of the emotional issues that would arise after an assault, and I've got some resources for you, so stay with me.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. Yeah! If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. That's it. VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information.
Are you a real sports fan? Get ready to talk football and anything else sports with Kwame Lassiter, formerly with the Arizona Cardinals, San Diego Chargers, and St. Louis Rams. Kwame's got the experience, so he's prepared to talk sports with you every week on Kwame Lassiter's Sports Talk. It's on the Voice America Sports Network every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, noon Eastern Time. Get ready for unpredictable fun and sometimes a sarcastic look at the world of sports. That's Kwame Lassiter's Sports Talk on the Voice America Sports Network.
The violent crime rate has begun to rise again. So what's more important than feeling at ease and secure in your daily life? With an optimistic perspective on a sober subject, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone brings you the information, tips, resources, and inspiring success stories that'll reduce your fear and restore your confidence. So stay tuned and stay safe with Crime Prevention 101 and Susan Bartelstone every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, here on Voice America. It'd be a crime not to listen.
Stimulating talk.
It gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. Susan would like to remind you that no absolutes exist in a crime scenario, and no advice can possibly address every variable. Each situation should be evaluated individually and responded to in a way you instinctively judge best. It's Susan's aim on this show to provide you with the information and options that will help you make that instinctive assessment quickly and safely. And if you're already a survivor of the kind of crime we're talking about on the show today, or any other crime for that matter, please remember that there are no right or wrong responses in a criminal encounter, and nothing that happened to you was your fault. Even if you think you used bad judgment in a situation and left yourself vulnerable, that's never an excuse for a crime or for violence. So please, call yourself a survivor, not a victim, and understand that with time, distance, and the proper professional help, you can put what happened into perspective and get on with your life. If you'd like to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, send your comments to solutions@fightsafe.com, and Susan may address some of them on future shows. That email address again, solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101.
I'm Susan Bartelstone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, we're coming down to the final segment, and Sultan, I know you have to leave us. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Thank you so much, Susan, for inviting me, and I want to thank everyone who is listening today. Just wanted to give a few quick reminders again. In New York City, forensic evidence collection and any of the safe work and the care you receive after the assault at the hospital is not billed to the patient. So please keep that in mind and don't hold it because you don't have insurance, health insurance or anything. New York State pays for that work. We want to
get that nationwide, by the way. Okay.
Yeah. Well, many states implementing that now.
Okay.
We also developed it for New York City visitors and people who live in New York City. Wonderful web resource is called www.besafenyc.org, which talks about urgent and non-urgent care for sexual assault survivors in New York City with clear directions to facilities nearest to them. With the search engine there. And it's in 6 languages. It's in Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Russian, Creole, French, and English. And please do visit it and bookmark it on your cell phones and web browsers.
Sultan, thank you so much. And if you want more information about this SAFE program, you can reach Dr. Torshkov at the New York City Alliance for Sexual Assault through the website, svfreenyc.org. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Amy. And you definitely get in touch with me, anyone who is interested.
We want this program all over the country.
Okay.
All right, Amy.
Yes.
Let's talk very quickly. What are some of the aftermaths of sexual assault so that a survivor will know what to expect, what is natural, what is commonplace?
Sure. So I would have to first say that any reaction is normal. Everyone is different. So, many people feel angry and frightened or, confused, numb. I would say probably the most common feeling, unfortunately, is feeling like something you did, that this was your fault. That's, I would have to say, a natural part of kind of getting through this crisis. But please know that, this is not your fault. This is never, ever the victim's fault. And, many victims feel ashamed and embarrassed and just scared. And so there's really no way to react that's a normal way. I've been in the hospital with many survivors who have been, seemingly calm, or numb or crying or even laughing. And there's really, no normal way to react to this. And that is just really important to know because many people think that there's, that someone who has been sexually assaulted should be a certain way, should be crying or, hysterical, and that's definitely not the case.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We played our parts very differently to reflect the difference in the way that people are going to react to these to this kind of trauma. Now, Amy, you're part of the advocacy program at Staten Island, the Safe Horizons program. If people want to find out more about the improvisational acting troupe or your role as an advocate, is there a website or an email you can give?
Sure. You can contact me. My email is aedelstein@safehorizon.org.
aedelstein@safehorizon.org. And she'll tell you all about how to put together that improvisational acting troupe.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for being with me today. It was a pleasure having you, and I look forward to our next acting stint.
Great.
Thank you again.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, we're coming down to the close. I want to give you a couple of resources. This is for information, for help putting what happened into perspective, meeting other people that are in the same situation. One of the best out there is called RAIN, Rape and Incest Network, and it's RAINN.org. We've got survivingtothriving.org. We've got Abyss to Hope, and it's ABYSS, the number 2, and Hope, HOPE.com. AfterSilence.org, which is a great forum where you can touch base with other people who are going through the same things that you are. There's also a wonderful group called HealingThroughCreativity.org, and I'm going to be doing a terrific show with coming up in the month, and we're going to be talking about ways that you can heal through creative endeavors. Now, I'm going to post all of these resources and the phone numbers on my Crime Prevention 101 blog, as well as show notes for each episode. And I'm going to have a link there so you can just click right through if you don't remember how to get in touch with Dr. Torshkov. I'm going to have a link right there. You can also sign up on at crimeprevention101.com to get on my mailing list so that you'll never miss any of the shows. You can find out about information of my new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime. Go to 20secondresponse.com. Take you right there. And you can also, by the way, I forgot to mention, this show is on iTunes, so you don't even have to be on your computer if you want to listen. Well, I think that's a wrap for this week. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the J.C. Dugart crime child abduction case, and I've got a neighborhood protection specialist coming on about what you can do to prevent a similar thing from occurring in your neighborhood. And I've also got Maureen Tanka, who is the driving force behind Megan's Law. Also, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so I got programs coming up on that. This is so important. It'd be a crime not to listen, so stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartelstone invites you to join us again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. If you want to learn more about Susan's guest, sign up for her newsletter, or find out about upcoming teleseminars and workshops, go to www.crimeprevention101.com today. Have a great week and a safe week.